Welcome, Shridhar. Welcome to the second episode of this podcast.
Thank you, Ganesh. Great speaking to you.
Yeah, same. Actually, I'm quite excited to be here. Essentially, the reason I said yes to this assignment is to firstly ask a question, and this question I've always been at the receiving end at. So I would firstly like to ask this question to someone else and see what kind of responses they get. So tell me about yourself, Sridhar.
So, Ganesh, I am from Nagpur basically. Nagpur, as you know, is the orange city of the country, and come from a middle class family. Four siblings, three plus me, four of us, and my father was a clerk in a government setup in Nagpur, and we grew up. We had enough for our needs but not for our greed. So a lot of values got instilled. Coming from a middle class background, mother instilled a lot of values, and those values still continue in me, and that is what has made me what I am today. And I studied my engineering with in electrical engineering from Government College of Engineering, Karad. Then I went to I then worked for 2 years in Philips. I was their first graduate sales trainee. Those days, this is way back in 1990. Uh, Philips was not taking young graduates without experience in sales, but somehow I landed in sales as a sales trainee in Philips. And then after some time, I joined the Masters of Management course while I was working in Asia Brown Boveri, ABB, which was my next assignment, next company. And I did my Masters in Management. Overall, I've worked in many multinational firms. The last assignment before joining Akshaya Patra was Vice President of WebEx, uh, which currently has been taken over by, which is recently, some years back, taken over by Cisco. In fact, I left when Cisco took over, and I was in a transition. In fact, I was having another offer as CEO of a firm, and I was transitioning. And I used to also volunteer with Akshaya Patra at the time. I knew the chairman, Sri Madhu Pandit Dasa, and all the ISKCON high energy missionary devotees. And it so happened that I was at their guest house, and one day Madhu Pandit Dasa, who's the chairman of Akshaya Patra and president of ISKCON Bangalore, he called me to his room and he said, Sridhar, why are you building empires for others? Build for these children of Akshaya Patra. So that was like a moment of calling for me, and I quit my corporate career. So in all, I've been working for about 30 years. 15 years of these 30 years have been in the Akshaya Patra. Fantastic journey so far. Very, very transformational. And it feels like I've got purpose in life. So very excited. I'm married to Jyoti, and we have one sweet daughter named Tanya. Jyoti has been a sheet anchor support for me in this journey of transitioning from corporates at the peak of my career to getting it a not-for-profit and enjoying it much more than what I would have done in corporates.
Yeah, so this kind of decision is pretty big, right? I mean, you don't just get on to become the head of a particular institution. I'm sure the inspiration would have come far earlier. How long have you been associated with Akshay Patra? You mentioned that you've been working as a volunteer as well. And so, how long has this journey been going on?
Uh, so Ganesh, I have been volunteering with Akshaya Patra. See, I joined in 2006, early January. And much before that, I was volunteering with Akshaya Patra. I used to, help the devotees with whatever I knew, mostly on the strategic front and the fundraising front, etc. Some ideas and tips, etc. But as you know, Akshaya Patra is an ISKCON Bangalore initiative. Uh, the visionary seed came of Akshaya Patra came from Swami Srila Prabhupada, who is amongst foremost spiritual masters the world has seen, an Acharya. And I was very inspired by him and his followers. And Akshaya Patra, as you know, is a secular initiative. So I was associated with the ISKCON movement for about, I think, from 1995. With Akshaya Patra, I started helping them somewhere 2003, 2004. So about 3, 4 years. But I used to go to the temple very regularly, and I think I also looking for purpose in life, Ganesh. So I think that made me take the decision very easily. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, it took me just a minute. Let me tell you something. When I was in my final year of engineering, um I got selected in the Indian Navy, and in the campus interview, and the naval commodore asked me this question, Shridhar, why you want to join the Indian Navy? So I told him, sir, I told him in Hindi. I can repeat that to you. I
Yeah.
told him that, sir, marne ke pehle kuch karke jana hai. I don't I,
Okay.
I don't want to die, just like that.
Hmm.
So that was, and probably that fetched me a naval, got selected in the Navy interview. But somehow my mother, being the youngest at my home, my mother didn't allow me to join the
Hmm.
Navy, and bowing to her, request, I continued with my corporate career. But Akshay Patra gave me the opportunity to do something big for the country, something which I was looking for. And Madhu Pandit Dasa, who's the president of ISKCON Bangalore and chairman of Akshaya Patra, he spent a lot of time with me explaining things like existential purpose of life, why you do what you do. And these things really inspired me. And of course, I was an ardent follower of Swami Prabhupada. So I think these things resonated. And from a corporate angle, this was a secular foundation, uh, which which a very lofty vision that no child in India will be deprived of education because of hunger. So when I told my wife, after telling Madhu Pandit Dasa, yes, Swami Madhu Pandit Dasa, yes, I'm going to join, I told her that, Jyoti, I want to join this organization. So she just told me one thing in Hindi, because we speak Hindi at home. She said, Sridhar, मैं तो तेरे से प्यार करती हूँ, but प्यार में चने नहीं खा सकती हूँ. Okay, but she has been a sheet anchor support for me, because very important that you get support of family members, especially your spouse, when you are making such a big decision. Ganesh, let me tell you something interesting. Where Whether it is my engineering college friends or my management institute friends, I also did my advanced management program from Wharton. None of the guys have got into not for profit other than me. So I
Hmm.
took a different track, and I think the support of my family, my wife, and of course, senior devotees like Madhu Pandit Dasa, Swami Chanchalapati Dasa, they all have been, great support actually. And I have a fantastic team that makes my life very meaningful. I was looking for more meaning in life, not that I was not getting it in corporate, but I think this gave me existential purpose of life. When you see lives of children getting transformed, I think nothing can, replace this kind of a joy. When you see a young child growing to be a powerful adult, very confident, studied well, and has removed the family from the cycle of poverty. So I think that has been a big motivation and inspiration for me.
Wonderful. So, you had a pretty flourishing career in corporate as well before joining Akshay Patra formally. Has your experience been any different compared to what you did in your corporate world as opposed to what you're doing now, operationally and when it comes to your day to day life?
So what happens, Ganesh? See, when you look at a corporate and a not-for-profit like Akshaya Patra, which has scaled up the way we have, as you know, Akshaya Patra is the world's largest school meal program, feeding 1.8 million children in about 52 locations. So if you look at closely, functionally, there is not much difference. Number one, all the things which I would have done in any of the big multinational companies, I continue to do in Akshaya Patra. In fact, that's one reason probably Swami Madhu Pandit Dasa hired me. Okay, so we are about 7,000 people. All functions which you can think of in a corporate are there in Akshaya Patra, whether it is sales or fundraising, communications, operations, project management, quality, audits, board, audit committee, all those things exist in Akshaya Patra. The difference which an organization like Akshaya Patra brings in is it gives you purpose of life. You know, what I could not get in a large corporate is the answer to why I am doing what I am doing.
Hmm.
So that answer I got in Akshaya Patra, and probably that's what made me give my best. Probably my best is yet to come. God willing, I'll try to do much more for Akshaya Patra, the great organization. But I think this is something like resonating. If you are able to get purpose in life, if you know why you are doing what you're doing, I think that has an impact on your performance, on your motivation levels, on enthusiasm levels.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for this lovely introduction. So I'd like to dive in directly into the operational aspect of what makes Akshaya Patra the way it is. Right? You
Yeah.
have several programs ongoing at the same time. You have multiple endeavors going on, and some of them are in different stages of completion. Some of them are operational successes. You just mentioned that you feed the highest number of children around the world, and it's very easy to assume that this is the flagship program and probably the only thing that is of significant importance in what you do. But a lot of people know about this. What are some of the other endeavors that you've already taken? And what are some of the things that you want to scale up the way you've scaled up this meal scheme of children?
So, Ganesh, first of all, wonderful question. Uh, one reason for Akshaya Patra to be what it is today is its focus. As you rightly pointed out, we are the largest school meal program by a not-for-profit in the world. So all of us, 7,000 plus members, all of us get up in the morning with a singular focus that no child in India will be deprived of education because of hunger. So all of us get together to see how we can serve hot, nutritious, safe meals to children. Having said that, over the last 20 years, Akshaya Patra also has become a platform for many other pilots. So let me share with you some of the pilots which we have done, which we plan to scale up, and I'll also tell you how we plan to scale up. So one endeavor which we have started, Ganesh, is called the National Endeavor for Student Transformation. At the end of the day, if you look at a meal program like Akshaya Patra, it is a transformative program, and transformation takes long years. It takes 20, 25, 30 years to create
Decades
transformative.
easily. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it is said that research says that transformative impact comes in about 20 to 30 years, 25 to 30 years. That's where you see transformative impact. So some of the initiatives which we have done, Ganesh, is under the National Endeavor for Student Transformation is we have started doing pilots. So we closely work with government schools. So we have picked up some of the schools which are having not so good infrastructure, and we have put them under a scheme called the School Rejuvenation Program. So what we have done, we have taken a school in Ravindranagar in Bangalore, where it was a dilapidated school. Many people even didn't know that there is a school existing here. So Akshaya Patra's team, led by my colleague Ajay Kavishwar and his colleagues, they all got together and found the school, which had about 30 to 40 children coming there, and made the school vibrant. They got transgenders to paint the school. They got a smart board in the school. They got kitchen garden in the school. They ensured that the place where children eat a meal restores and upholds their dignity, which is very, very important. And the school became very vibrant. So now when you go to the school, it is so vibrant, and the enrollment has gone up from 40 to, I think, 160 children now.
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah. So, and this also becomes an example for how you can transform primary school education in the government sector. So there is meal at one end, which Akshaya Patra is providing. Of course, many other not-for-profits are providing. The government is providing. We are implementers of the government program. At the other end, if there is very vibrant school infrastructure. So it resonates, and I think you get foundation for creating impact. So this is as far as the school part goes. Then we also have done endeavors like there's an initiative called Giving Every Dream a Chance. Each of these children, Ganesh, they have aspirations, right? They have
Right.
fire in their belly. Let me tell you, I come from an aided school,
Mm.
and the kind of fire which children from government schools and aided school have, children from private school rarely have. What they actually need is giving wings to their dreams. So we have another initiative for giving every dream a chance. So my team members, they received about 1,000 applications and found three children, one wanting to become a chef,
Mm.
another wanting to become an astronomer, another
Mhm.
wanting to become a theater personality. So let me give you what they did. What we did was we connected these government school children who had fire in their belly to do well in life to mentors. So the chef, the boy who wanted to become a chef, let me delve a little bit on this boy. This boy, eighth grader, when we spotted him, he was an eighth grader boy. Uh, Parents used to barely earn few thousand rupees a month. This boy used to come home walking from his school, and if you go to his home at the time, the home didn't have proper roof, so rain used to drip, and there were vessels everywhere when my team went. And this boy, what he will do, he'll come home, cut a newspaper, and put make a chef's hat and put it on his head and make a meal with whatever that was at home, whatever food raw material mother had. And our team spotted him and connected him to one of the best chefs India has from Bangalore, from Taj Group of Hotels. And this chef trained this boy in, very simple, starting with a very simple thing like how to hygienically wash your hand, how to
Mm.
cut vegetables, how to cook meal, good meal. And we created a wow moment for this child when food critics were called. His mother was also called, and it was not told to the critics that this boy has cooked a meal, and the chef came and served the meal, and the food critics licked their fingers, and the chef then told them, this is an eighth grader boy who has cooked this meal. And all this was video shot, and it was a wow moment for the child. And chef, in presence of all the food critics, took out his chef's hat and put it on this boy's head. So he had tears in his eyes. So, and then we did an event for these children, and it was in Taj. So Taj vice president for the hotels group, he said that we would like to sponsor higher education for this child in the Taj group of hotel management. And after he completes it, we would like to absorb him in one of the Taj group of hotels. Now you can see how a powerful meal and an initiative like giving every dream a chance works wonders on a child who wants to dream.
Mm.
Like this, another child wanted to become an astronomer, another wanted to become a theater personality. For this theater personality child, we created a theater play where her idol was called in the play without her knowledge. And
Wow.
she was so amazing. She was so amazing. And she played a historical woman's role there. And her idol walked up to the stage and hugged her on the stage in front of hundreds of audience. And this child has tears in her eyes, and her resolve to become a theater personality got strengthened.
Mm.
That's a power of giving every dream a chance. Like this, if we can identify children with talent and give them good food, connect them to mentors, I think we can transform this great nation.
Absolutely. I'd like to discuss some of the operational challenges that you generally face, right? Because even though you're a not-for-profit company, the scale at which you operate eventually ensures that some of the issues plaguing some of these big corporates also come to you. How have you been able to deal with these problems? And so when I talk about scale, I don't just mean in an operational scale like day-to-day operations and other stuff. So you'll have your operations in different countries, I suppose. And when you're reaching out to so many other areas, what are some of the usual problems that you come across, and how do you generally solve them?
So Ganesh, from an operational challenges perspective, so let me give you a perspective of our operations. Every day we handle about 400 tons of food raw materials.
Which is of a significant scale, right?
Yes, probably I don't think there is any institution in the world,
Unlikely,
not
yeah.
for profit, which is doing of this scale. There may be some for profits, but of course we do get a lot of inspiration from the processes and system which for profits bring in, but customize them for a not for profit environment. So from an operational challenge perspective, Ganesh, one of the biggest challenge we have is, you see, we are dealing with perishable food,
Right,
right? So it is very important that what we cook gets consumed within few hours of cooking.
right.
So that is one of the biggest challenge. How do you ensure that food remains fresh when the child eats a meal? So
Hmm.
that's one of the challenge. How do we solve that is by ensuring that the cook to consumption time is 6 hours. We are trying to bring that down further, and we have a very able quality team in our kitchens, what we also call the heart of Akshaya Patra.
Mhm.
And we also have quality leaders at the central office who are who come from good backgrounds. They
Hmm.
are Six Sigma master black belt, Six Sigma educated guys, and food technologists. They do their best in terms of ensuring quality.
Hmm.
So we have served so far 3 billion meals cumulatively. Earlier last year, the Honorable Prime Minister commemorated the 3 billionth meal. In all these meals, so far, no major food security issue has come, which is attributed to Akshaya Patra.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think good processes, good manufacturing processes, these are the areas that have helped Akshaya Patra and motivated team members. I think that's another very important thing that has helped us ensure this. Second challenge which we have is, growth is not a challenge for us. Currently, we do about 1.8 million children out of 100 million children with the government feeds. So we are just covering about 1.8 million children of the government school-going children population.
Hmm. So it's
What?
still an uphill
Oh,
battle.
yeah. So I always jokingly say it is like a company which has a market share of 1.8%, but claims to be the world's largest.
Right.
So that also explains the scale at which we are working. Okay, so the second challenge is, how do we ensure? So let's take the cost of meal of Akshaya Patra for the last year. It was 15 rupees per child, out of which 6 rupees came from the government, and 9 rupees is what we raised from corporates, trusts, individuals, etc.
Hmm.
Now, Ganesh, if I have to add, let's take the next 1 million children, I need to raise 90 lakh rupees or 1 crore of rupees every day.
Every day.
Every day, over and above what the government gives.
Right.
So last year, Akshaya Patra raised about 300 crores
Hmm.
over and above what the government gave. We were almost close to 600 crores in terms of operational size.
Hmm.
Uh, so we have a very well-oiled fundraising, public relations, communications team that really ensures that without splurging money on advertisements and communications, we are able to convey our story. For example, this initiative which my colleague Nilima and Ajay have taken with you is a way to express Akshaya Patra's way of doing things so that people know how we can do it. And thanks to people like you who come forward to help us in communicating in this manner. So that was the second challenge which we are working on. Third one, and this is the last one which I want to share, is we are a very people-centric organization. When people ask me who is their biggest stakeholder, their expectation is I will tell them that it is the child.
Hmm.
But I tell them my biggest stakeholder is my employee.
Oh, how wonderful. Okay.
Because I believe that if you have motivated and inspired employees, you will have happy children. The vice versa may not be true. Let me give
Right.
you an example. For example, when you go to a restaurant, okay, which is known for good food, but the waiter comes and serves you in a very unfriendly manner, or is doesn't behave well, uh, it you don't like the meal, right? Because
Right. And you're
meal when you
unlikely to
say
go back either. Yeah. So,
exactly meal when you say that the food is one part, the experience is another part. So the experience which a child gets, which various stakeholders get, our donors get, government gets, these all come from our employees. So for me, if you come to my office, I'm just reading my board because every year when the year begins, I write 7 or 8 points, which are my priority for the year.
hmm,
This year, of course, for many, many years since I'm here, my first priority has been employee care.
nice.
And that's how I think we are having a motivated team, because they feel that the management and the leadership cares for them. And of course, we do have tough situations, but we communicate and move forward. So these are three main challenges, Ganesh.
Hmm.
I was presenting to Mr. Ratan Tata, who is one of our big donors,
Mhm.
along with his board members sometime back. So one of his senior board members asked me this question: Sridhar, running Akshaya Patra is like being on a treadmill. So
I
I
would
told
say
him,
it's true of any company, right?
absolutely. So I told him, yes, it's being on a treadmill, but where the speed goes up without your knowledge and you have to run faster.
Okay.
Okay, because what happens if you plot, Ganesh, our cost of meal year over year, though we have been very efficient reasonably, the gap between what the government gives and what the cost of meal is widening.
Right.
So that puts more stress on the system, and that's what we want to make sure that we come up with more sustainable initiatives which will help in raising resources which can be plowed back
Right.
into Akshaya Patra.
So I have a sort of a more personal sort of question right now. You mentioned that you need to raise close to 1 crore every single day, right? And
Yes.
the ethical dilemma out there, if you are unable to do it for one particular day, automatically translates to a certain number of children going hungry.
Yeah.
And in such instances, how do you cope? As in, what exactly do you do in order to not come across such issues? Or when you're faced with such an issue, how do you exactly deal with it? Because every day is not a successful day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
especially in
Yeah.
these endeavors, when every day is an uphill task, it becomes even more so.
Yeah.
How do you tackle
Yeah.
those things?
Yeah. So, God's grace, Ganesh, for the last 7 years, we never had a single day of cash out in operations.
Oh, wonderful. That's
Okay.
nice.
But
And
we are in
it's
existence
been
for the
going on
last
for
20
about,
years,
yeah, 20 years. Yeah.
right? So the first 13 years were, I would say, struggle in establishing our brand, in communicating that we are a trustworthy organization, credible organization, whose expense to income ratio is just 7%. That means every 100 rupee a donor gives, 7 rupee I spend on fundraising or my overheads. Uh, how we have been managing times which have been tough is, we have a great fundraising and communications team which raises resources, which makes people aware of what we are doing. So that's one bit of it. The other bit is good financial management. We have a great team of chartered accountants across the country, headed by a CFO, and you will be happy to know that for the last 7 years in a row, Akshaya Patra has got Gold Shield for Excellence in Financial Reporting, the only not-for-profit in India, independent India's history, to be in the Hall of Fame
Hmm.
of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. So transparency also has helped us, get good confidence of the donors. But there have been times the earlier years where we were struggling. Even now, many times we struggle, but the vendors help us. We are able to manage working capital better. And always, whenever there's a problem, we go back to our donors and vendors, and there is always an angel or two who comes forward to help us, because we are doing God's work and they know this is God's own kitchen.
Nice. Good. So we've covered a lot of stuff today, and I also wanted to talk a little bit about what the world is currently facing. I mean, we are now living in the times of COVID, we are now living in times of a pandemic that nobody had anticipated. And this is a pretty much trying time for every industry there is. And how is Akshay Patra able to cope with this particular pandemic and achieve all the stated outcomes that your programs endeavored for?
So Ganesh, I would like to delve into this important question to three parts. One is pre-COVID, COVID, and post-COVID.
Right.
Quickly, let me take you through what we have
Sure.
done. I know what we have done. Pre-COVID, I explained to you 1.8 million children, 52 locations, 12 states, 2 union territories, 3 billion cumulative meals served, over 3 billion. That is our pre-COVID time. Then the black swan, COVID struck, and the schools came to a screeching halt. We were serving about 20,000 schools across these states and union territories, and schools came to a halt. What Akshaya Patra did, so now let me tell you what we did during the COVID time, or we are doing. What Akshaya Patra did, Ganesh, is to quickly repurpose ourselves into a strategic shift we brought in from food for education to food for relief.
Right.
And that's how we came up with a two-pronged approach. One was leveraging our existing facilities to give cooked meals, and also leveraging our facilities and various other locations where we're not present to give grocery boxes. So far we have done about 63 million servings in the last 3 months.
Okay. So that's almost commensurate with the earlier rate that you've been.
A little less than that, because earlier rate was about 1.8 million. This will be about a million. Our peak was about a million.
Okay.
Okay. So not 3 months, it's actually 65 or 70 days. Okay. So what we did is the grocery boxes had grocery for 42 adult meals ration, which had all dal, oil with good quality, nicely packed. Because for us, the person who's eating, his dignity is very important. You know,
Right.
when Stanford Social Innovation Review covered organizations like Akshaya Patra, one of the points they mentioned was these organizations like Akshaya Patra that are scaled up have also focused on the dignity of the person who's receiving the benefit.
Can you differentiate between how traditional organizations have done it and how exactly this differentiator has been a core component of your operations?
So,
This dignity
so,
of the
so,
one who
so
receives.
I would not like to comment on other organizations, but I can tell you how it is done in Akshaya Patra.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, Akshaya Patra, Ganesh, if you look at the visionary seed of Akshaya Patra, it is a divine incidence that happened in the year sometime in 1970s when Swami Prabhupada had built a big temple of Krishna in a place called Mayapur near Kolkata. And there was a big feast in the temple, and he had invited a lot of people, and feast was served on plankton leaf. And after the big feast, people were resting in their apartment, and Prabhupada heard cries of children. And he opened the apartment window, and he saw street children fighting with stray dogs over the leftover scrap of food in the plankton leaf.
Right.
And tears rolled on from his eyes. And he said, today we have invited the Supreme Father here. And wherever Father is there, his children should not go hungry. And he gave a mandate that in a 10-mile radius of his centers, nobody should go hungry. So compassion was the seed, the visionary seed in Akshaya Patra. One of the founding principles of Akshaya Patra is we want to give these children or beneficiaries what otherwise our children will eat.
Right.
So I think that has flown in from the founder side, from the chairman, vice chairman, all the missionaries who are associated with us. I think that rubs off in whatever we do. And we have done our best. I won't say we are the best, but we have strived to be compassionate. We have strived to be, for this scale, how how to bring in that feeling of care. I think Akshaya Patra strive to do it, and that's what reflects. And
Right.
that's what gets reflected in the meal which we have served so far during the COVID time, as far as for the grocery boxes. So that's how we repurpose. As far as post-COVID goes, Ganesh, we we are in uncertain times. So we don't know when schools will reopen. So our kitchens are ready. Just to give you an example or to give you some numbers, my installed capacity is 2.2 million beneficiaries in one shift.
Hmm.
So if we do three shifts, we can reach 6 million beneficiaries in a day.
In a day. Okay.
In a day, okay? So given the need, if this great country wants Akshaya Patra's kitchens to be utilized for any kind of relief, we'll be very happy to do that. We're already in touch with the top government officials from the state and the union government,
Hmm.
and they have been very kind enough to participate in our relief front. And how we did during these times is our public-private partnership came to fore. So while we were busy packing meals, packing grocery, the government was arranging picking up of these grocery boxes, delivering to them. The scouts helped us, the police helped us, the local administration helped us. So I think it is a fantastic teamwork.
Hmm. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, and I have one final question to ask.
Sure, Ganesh.
Yeah. So there is a significant shift happening in the whole sphere, right? Like you mentioned, post COVID is an uncertain world and all of those things. What I would want to know is how can government encourage more of these operations other than funding? Are there any policy changes that they can make, any public policy matters that they can tweak in order for you to help you execute your endeavors in a much better manner? Or how do
So,
you
so
plan to do
yeah. So what happens, Ganesh? Like when government invests a rupee on an organization like Akshaya Patra, there's a multiplier effect in terms of impact.
that? Right.
So my expectation from the government is if the government subsidies which are given to organizations like Akshaya Patra are increased, then our ability to reach out to more children, more beneficiaries goes up.
Hmm.
We already have invested capital in terms of machinery and infrastructure. So if funds, if the government gives us rations, if the government gives us some funds, we'll be able to convert them into cooked meal and more beneficiaries can be fed. So that is one. Second is from a policy perspective. For example, we are trying to see if some of the taxes which come to Akshaya Patra are waived off. Okay, because we are a service-oriented organization.
Hmm.
Then some of the see if for example every penny we save in my cost of meal,
Hmm.
Ganesh, helps me feed 4,000 children without raising any resource. Every
Right.
paisa
Optimization. Yes.
optimization. So if because of government policy, I'm able to save on my cost of meal, so many more children can be fed. For example, if government policy helps me reduce the cost, let's take just I'm giving an example by 10% assume,
Hmm.
then it is food for about six no 1 paisa I told you is 4,000. So 150 is about close to 500,000 children more we can feed without raising money.
Right. That is there. So, another related challenge to this, for instance, is now that schools and other educational institutions are temporarily closed, and I suppose it will be a significant amount of time before they reopen and the full scale of attendance resumes.
Yeah.
Are you planning for any sort of endeavors that can help reach this food for people who are not able to attend schools and are stuck in their homes?
So Ganesh, what happens is we are when it comes to meal for migrant laborers, as I mentioned to you, so far we did about 63 million beneficiaries. Most of them are
Right.
migrant laborers, and of course people in need uh, who needed this kind of a relief. Now, when schools are not opening and people are at home, Of course, government has done a tremendous job in terms of reaching rations to them. We'll be very happy to partner with the government on that endeavor, number one. Even if the government tomorrow asks us to work along with them to deliver meal to the homes of these children, cooked meals, even we are willing to explore that. Another model which we're exploring is if timings can be staggered and children can come in small groups to come and
Right.
have a good meal in the school. I think that's another area where we can work on. Whole idea is no one should go hungry.
Exactly.
No,
Because for a lot of these children, I think the main reason for coming to school is the fact that they're able to get a meal, right?
yes,
Especially in rural
Ganesh. Because,
area.
some years back, Nielsen did a study for us. At the time, they found out 82% of the children come to school because they get a good meal.
Yeah. Wonderful.
So I think meal is very, very fundamental. Very fundamental. You can be without, when you say roti, kapda or makan, you can manage with just 2 pairs of clothes or probably no home,
Yes.
but you can't manage without food or water. So food is so fundamental.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you so much for this conversation. I'm happy that I got to see a human side to this organization, which I only used to see via news and other outlets. And I hope that this particular message reaches out to individuals who wish to contribute as well. Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure, Ganesh. Truly appreciate the time you have taken for Akshaya Patra. Thank you on behalf of 1.8 million children and 63 million beneficiaries of the COVID relief which you're doing.
Most welcome.
Thank you.